जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा गोकुलानंद राधे। जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान। Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna. I'm very happy to be here amongst all of you in the house of Piyush and Chandrika, and of course Devyani and Shivam as well. Is there any particular topic that you would like me to speak on? Any? Or should I select something from the Bhagavad Gita? Huh? Requested a topic? Which one? No, I didn't know. No, what was the topic? 5.29. Bhakti Rasamrita Swami. Okay, that's from the Bhagavad Gita as well. No, I wasn't aware. Okay, so we'll discuss the 29th verse, which is the last verse of the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Jnatva Mam Shantim Richati Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Jnatva Mam Shantim Richati Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Jnatva Mam Shantim Richati. Those of you who either remember it or you have your smartphones, you may recite, or you can just take a book and recite. Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam. No, it's fine, yeah. Yajna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Jnatva Mam Shantim Richati. Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Yatva Mam Shantim Richati Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Yatva Mam Shantim Richati Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Yatva Mam Shantim Richati. Anyone else? You can pass the book. Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Yatva Mam Shantim Richati. Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Idam Sarvabhutanam Yatva Mam Shantim Richati. Okay, can I have the book? Thank you. No, it's okay. Bhoktaram, the beneficiary, yajna, of sacrifices, tapasam, and penances and austerities, sarvaloka, of all planets, and the demigods thereof, Maha Ishwaram, the Supreme Lord, Suhridam, the benefactor, Sarva, of all, Bhutanam, the living entities, Jnatva, thus knowing, Mam, me, Lord Krishna, Shantim, relief from material pangs, Richati, one achieves. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. I'll read Srila Prabhupada's purport, the first half. The conditioned souls within the clutches of illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world. But they do not know the formula for peace, which is explained in this part of the Bhagavad Gita. The greatest peace formula is simply this: Lord Krishna is the beneficiary in all human activities. Men should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord, because He is the proprietor of all planets and the demigods thereon. No one is greater than He. He is greater than the greatest of all the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, Shvetashvatar Upanishad 6.7, the Supreme Lord is described as Tam Ishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram. Under the spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be the lords of all they survey, but actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of all material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. Om Jnanatimiraandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. This verse is the famous peace formula of the Bhagavad Gita. Everyone is looking for peace in this world, but nobody has it. Many years ago, when I used to go to the universities and colleges for speaking about Bhagavad Gita, thank you. I had organized a debate competition for the students, and the topic we had given them was no yoga, no peace, no yoga, no peace. Yes? KNOW, yoga, KNOW, peace, and NO, yoga, NO, peace. But yoga doesn't simply mean doing some exercises or doing some breathing. Yoga is something that is meant to connect us to the ocean of supreme peace and supreme joy. And that supreme ocean of peace and joy is Lord Krishna. So unless we very firmly understand this point and staunchly believe in it and rigidly adhere to the practices and beliefs recommended by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, it is not going to be possible for us to get peace. In the absence of God consciousness, true God consciousness, not just a ritualistic belief in some religious worship or some processes, neither a fanatical approach to a very sectarian conception of God, none of these will actually give us peace. And as a follow-up topic, we had also suggested another thing: peace on earth or earth in pieces. And if you want peace on earth, then this has to be the formula. Otherwise, the earth will be in pieces. Srila Prabhupada used to say that Materialistic solutions to our problems will not work. Materialistic attempts at unity can only create disunity. And as an example, he pointed to the United Nations. And he said when the United Nations started off, there were fewer countries, member nations. But as the years have gone by, in the last 50 years or so, since the time the United Nations started, the number of nations have increased significantly. So nations are breaking up. The world is getting disunited, not united. If we want a united world and we want united nations, truly speaking, then the world must unite. But that's not happening. And it is not happening because we're attempting to do things on a material platform, not on a spiritual platform. On the material platform, there will only be division. When our consciousness and our approach to life and to the world is based upon the materialistic conception of life, thinking ourselves to be this material body, and thinking those things connected to this material body to be ours and meant for me and my enjoyment, in which my control shall be exercised over this jurisdiction, and I am the sole enjoyer and proprietor of all this, till such time as we are in this consciousness, there can never be peace in the world. It is not possible to have unity. There will only be disunity. This idea to have artificial egalitarianism, artificial unity, are only very, shall we say, utopian ideas in this world. And practically we see it doesn't happen. What is the reason? It's because we're looking in the wrong place. We understand the problem, that there is lack of unity, but we don't know the real cause of the problem. We have understood the symptom of the problem, but there is an underlying cause which we have to identify. And unless we identify that cause, there is no question of having a proper cure, as we were discussing the other day in one program. So the cause is that we think ourselves to be the proprietors of everything. We think ourselves to be the controllers. We think ourselves to be the enjoyers. And we think ourselves to be people who can actually do benefit or welfare to everybody else. We think by helping people in a certain way, we are actually doing them good, but we may not be doing them good. So in this verse of the Bhagavad Gita, the peace formula, Lord Krishna says, no, you are neither the proprietor, nor are you the enjoyer, nor the controller, nor can you be the real benefactor and well-wisher of others. It is I, and only I, who am all of these things. Why so? Why are we not the enjoyers of this world? Why are we not even the enjoyers of what we think we possess, the true enjoyers? It's because these things don't genuinely belong to us. When do you have a right to enjoy something? Can I ask you a question? When do you have a right to enjoy something? When you own it. If I come to your house and try to enjoy the property in your house without your permission, I open the fridge and eat some things there, I utilize your car for my enjoyment without asking you, no, that is not proper. And you have every right to protest and to prevent me from doing so. And if I insist, you'll call the police, and that's considered then a crime, because I'm forcefully trying to enjoy what is yours, what is not mine. So the right of enjoyship rests with one who owns something. So enjoyership follows from proprietorship. Unless there is true proprietorship, there cannot be true enjoyership. The right of enjoyership cannot exist. I don't know how the rules of tenancy and ownership of property are here in England, but in India, for many years, it is a tenant who is the king. The landlord very often can have no powers practically. You may own a property on paper, you have some nice document that shows you are the owner. But there's someone sitting in your property for generations and generations, and they have so much right over the property that your piece of paper is just that, a piece of paper, the document that you are the owner, but you have no enjoyership rights over that property. At the most, if you're lucky, the tenant will give you some rent. And that rent will probably be something that he or she was paying generations ago. It's not an updated rent according to the inflation and everything. If you're lucky, you'll get that amount. And if you're not lucky, you won't get anything. And he's there squatting on your property and you can't do anything about it. Yes? So therefore, even though you have proprietorship on paper, legally, technically, it's yours, but you don't have the control. You don't have the controllership. So merely having ownership is not enough. You must have control as well. Then you can enjoy the property. And in India, if you go to a court of law to claim control over your property again, it may take a few generations sometimes. It may take many, many years. So therefore, you see, ownership is not enough. Controllership is also necessary. So if you want to enjoy something, you must own it and you must have control over it. So we are neither the true proprietors of anything, we are neither the true controllers of anything, so how can we claim rights to enjoyership? And since we are not controllers and proprietors and enjoyers, how can we do real benefit to others? How can we be actually well-wishers of everyone? And because everyone is considering themselves to be false enjoyers, or rather they're considering themselves to be rightful enjoyers, but actually they're false proprietors and false controllers, therefore their enjoyership is also short-lived and is also an illusion. Because all attempts at enjoyment in this world are in vain. They only lead to misery. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yahi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha. He says all attempts at enjoyment in this world are the mother of misery, the mother of suffering. So suffering comes from attempts to enjoy. Purushaha prakritisto hi bhunkte prakritir jair guner karanam gunasangosya sadasat yoni janmasu. So Lord Krishna says, Purushaha prakritisto hi. Purusha, actually speaking, means the one who is the real enjoyer. Only the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, is the real enjoyer. But when the living entity, when the spirit soul, when you and me and all of us in this world, we imagine ourselves to be proprietors and controllers and enjoyers, then we are sent here to this material world. And then we have to struggle against the material energy. We try to exploit the resources of material energy for our pleasure, for our enjoyment. Prakriti sthohi. So stha, to be situated in this material nature, in this material world. So we are all pure spirit souls. We are spiritual entities, but we are here trapped in this material world, in the cycle of birth and death. So when the soul is trapped in the cycle of birth and death, it is because this false Purusha, this false enjoyer, the Jiva, Bhunkte Prakritir Jair Guner, is trying to enjoy this material world as if it were his property, as if he were the controller of this. And because of these attempts at enjoying the resources of material nature, Sad Asad Yoni Janmasu, the living entity, is obliged or is forced to take birth again and again and again in this material world. And repeated birth and death means suffering. So when one comes to one's senses, one realizes this birth and death is simply misery. Therefore, I must get out of it. But we will not be able to understand this point till we understand that this peace formula, that Krishna is the actual proprietor, he is the actual controller, and therefore is the only enjoyer, and he is the real well-wisher for everyone. And in that situation, we will attain peace. So as a saint has said, Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Iha samsare bahudustare kripaya pare pahi murare. So this prayer means, this verse means, Punarapi jananam, taking birth again. Punarapi maranam, dying again. Punarapi janani jathare shayanam, again after death to find oneself in the womb of a mother and be born again. This whole cycle of samsara, this birth and death, repeated birth and death, is so much misery, my dear Lord. O Murari, O Krishna, please save me from this very miserable cycle of birth and death. So when the living entity comes to its senses, after having tried to exploit the resources of material nature from time immemorial, by repeated hard knocks of material nature, when some good fortune dawns, and when one comes into the association of devotees of Lord Krishna, then one understands. It dawns upon us, oh yes, if I want to avoid this suffering, this miserable material world, then I must take shelter of Lord Krishna. I must become his devotee. Then only can I attain true peace and true happiness and true success in life. So this process takes many lifetimes. So it is exactly this point that Krishna is making here. Give up these false ideas that you are the enjoyer, you are the controller, you are the proprietor, you are the real well-wisher of everyone. Please know that it is I who am all of these things. And the moment we start understanding this, a great transformation happens in our consciousness. And immediately with this very realization, there is some sense of peace that arises in the heart. We have not attained perfection, surely, just with the beginning of this realization, but we have at least embarked on the right path. We are about to embark on a journey that will surely bear sweet fruit in times to come. We will actually experience this joy, susukham kartum avyayam, as time goes on, and we execute devotional service. So at the root of it all lies the false conception that I am this material body. So once we understand, and this is the ABC of Bhagavad Gita, that I am the spirit soul, I am the eternal spirit soul, I am not this material body. Everything begins at that point. This ownership is a false thing. But you may say, well, and you may validly and legitimately ask the question, but then is there any meaning to ownership in this world? I mean, what is the meaning of saying this is my house or this is my car? Then does it mean that anyone can come and take away my car and say, well, it's not your property, it's Krishna's property, so I can take it away? No. In the Ishopanishad, the first verse declares, Isha vasyamidam sarvam yatkincham jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita ma gridaha kasya svittanam. This verse means that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, whether animate or inanimate. Everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. One may utilize something that is allotted to us as one's quota and enjoy that, knowing well to whom the rest belongs, and also knowing well to whom this particular thing that is allotted to me as my quota belongs. In other words, we have to understand what this quota business is all about. Your quota, my quota. So we are all allotted quotas, Quota, quota. That means your share. And how is it this one is allotted a certain quota? It is by one's destiny, one's prarabdha, according to one's karma. According to the karma one has performed in previous lives, one receives a certain situation in this life. A situation in terms of the family one takes birth in, the kind of body one gets, the kinds of happiness and distress one will achieve in this life, and so on. So when one receives something by one's destiny, someone is born in a millionaire's family, someone is born in a very poor family, someone is born mentally challenged, someone is born very intellectually brilliant, someone has some musical genius, someone has some other talent, someone doesn't have some other skill. So all these things are endowed to us mostly at birth by dint of our previous karmas, our previous lives' activities. So whatever we get as a result of that is our destiny, and we should be satisfied with that first and foremost. And we should know that this quota has been allotted to us, but it's not actually my property. But it has been given to us for using, for limited enjoyment. I have a right to enjoy in this consciousness what has been allotted to me as my quota. But certainly I have no right to enjoy what is somebody else's quota. Let me give a simple example of a company which has many officers or employees. Now all the employees are supposed to work for achieving the objectives of the company. All the employees are being paid by the company. So they work for the company, and the company remunerates them in a certain way. In order that they may effectively do their work for the company, in order to provide them some good facilities and other perquisites to motivate them to stay on in the company and to do well, the company may provide them certain facilities like a special cabin, a special table, or perhaps a car, or perhaps a phone for their official use. Now there are certain things that are meant for the use of the company, like the cabin. It's not meant to be used for some private purpose. But if another employee goes into a cabin of somebody and says, "This is not your cabin, it's the company's cabin, so you should move out and I'll sit here." So that employee will say, "Well, it's not my cabin for sure, it's not your cabin either. It's the company's cabin, and the company has given me this cabin as my quota. So if you want this cabin, then you have to go to the company. But the company has given you your cabin, which is separate." "Well, I don't have a cabin, the company hasn't given me a cabin." "Well, that's because you have this lower position in the company. Since I'm a director in this company, I have this cabin. Since you're not a director, perhaps you're getting some lesser facility. So that's your quota, this is my quota. According to qualification, according to the quality of our contribution to the company has given us different facilities. According to what we deserve at this stage, this is what..." But we should not try to get more than our destined or deserved quota. Meaning that we should work honestly, and we should work hard, and we should work under dharma of what's right and what is not right, according to the rules that Lord Krishna has prescribed, or to continue that analogy, according to the rules that the company has laid down. And when we enjoy our property within these boundaries, then that's entitled enjoyment, that is authorized enjoyment. At the same time, the company or the employee or the director always has to keep in mind that this is actually the company's property. And I'm supposed to use this cabin for the company. If the director starts using the cabin and all the other facilities for other purposes, let's say for another company which is a competitor of this company, then there's going to be trouble. So similarly, we have this quota for our enjoyment, so we can enjoy it up to a certain degree. That is possible. That is laid down by the one who has given us this quota in the first place. And then we enjoy that. And then we also realize it's not just a question of me enjoying it, but I have to utilize it for what? For the service of the company, which means the service of the Supreme Lord, who has given us all these facilities. So one is, shall we say, a limited owner. Only limited. One is not a complete owner. The real owner is the Supreme Lord. So our house, our car, our money, our property at home, our very body, our family, everything belongs to Krishna. But he has given it to us to use as our quota. So we take it as our quota. And we enjoy it, we use it, but keeping in mind the connection to Lord Krishna. We shouldn't lose that connection. Therefore, we should not try unauthorized enjoyment. That is unauthorized enjoyment. And therefore, there will be action to that. Because my money, which is actually Krishna's money, is not meant to be used for many other things. So when we have this understanding of the ownership, limited secondary ownership, and unlimited primary ownership of Krishna, then everything becomes clear. Otherwise, this sense of ownership of property and stealing becomes meaningless. Even the ideas of honesty becomes meaningless. Not that they shouldn't exist, but they are not very deep. Srila Prabhupada used to give the example of some bank robbers who rob a bank, and they have a deal before they rob the bank that we'll split everything equally. So we have 4 robbers, burglars, so we'll split the loot 4 ways. And they loot the bank, they get a lot of money, and then they honestly divide the loot equally. No one cheats. So they are honest. Yes? But what is the foundation of their honesty? The foundation of their honesty is dishonesty. The foundation for their honesty is a crime, is a wrong idea, is a false conception. Similarly, if we also are honest in this world, not that we shouldn't be honest, we should, but if our honesty is based only on material conceptions of life, that this is mine and that is yours, that is the least thing that must be done. But the foundational conception or understanding should also be clear that yes, we must have this house, we must respect that this is his quota, this is my quota, fine. But also the underlying idea that this is actually the Supreme Lord's property must be there in our mind. So that brings also a sense of detachment. Because ultimately we are going to be detached from what we consider to be ours. Forcibly, we will be detached from our property. Ultimately at death, we will be detached. So it is good to cultivate a sense of detachment from the beginning, to understand that this is not mine. It will be taken away from me any time. Because I'm not the controller, even of my body. Even my body may be taken away from me at any time. So this idea of this is mine, this false sense of ownership and controllership and enjoyership is the root of our problems. And therefore there is no unity, because we all want to grab as much as we can. We want to go beyond our quota. And we do not even know how to live within our quota. There is a nice verse that explains how living entities or human beings in this world actually should live. Ayam nijaha paro vetti ganana lagu chetasam udara charitanam vasudhaiva kutumbakam. This is a famous verse. You may have heard this phrase Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. How many of you have heard of this phrase Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam? What does it mean? Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam? The whole world is one family. Yes, this is in the Vedic scriptures. Vasudha is a name for the earth. Vasu means wealth. Dha, the feminine gender of one who owns, or who has. The bearer, one who bears within her. Wealth, untold wealth, is earth, because earth has so much wealth, so many minerals and precious things are in earth. And they give us food and delicious fruits and vegetables and grains. Everything comes from the earth. So the earth is a repository of wealth. So she is called Vasudha. Vasudha eva, certainly. Kutumbakam. Kutumbakam means a family. So the earth is one family. This is the Vedic vision. This is the vision of one who is a genuine spiritualist, one who is a genuine devotee of Krishna. Ayam nijaha paro vetti. So this idea that this is mine and that is somebody's, me and mine and my property, your property. So at a deeper level, apart from the superficial, but one who is Udara Charitanam, for those who have very broad minds, deep understanding of life, they understand this world is one. It is all the property of Lord Krishna. Sometimes people mistakenly cite this verse as Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Vasudeva means Krishna's father, or even Vasudeva as Krishna. Vasudeva Kutumbakam. It's not actually that, is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. But if you say Vasudeva Kutumbakam, it means yes, this is the Kutumba family of Lord Krishna. So even unknowingly, they're actually saying something that is reasonably correct. That we are all the family of Lord Krishna. We are all his children. We are all his brothers, his offspring, his property. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarva yonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiyaha tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradhapita. He says that I am the seed-giving father of all the species of life in this material world. Sarva yonishu, of all species. Aham bija pradaha pita. Bij means the seed. Pradaha means one who is giving. Pita means father. So I am the seed-giving father of every living entity in every species of life in this material world. So since Lord Krishna is a supreme father of every one of us, so we are on the spiritual platform like brothers and sisters. On the material platform, yes, we have distinctions. But spiritually, we all are one family. So these distinctions, this is my country, your country, this is my community, your community, this is my religious faith, your religious faith, this is my particular group of people, that is your group of people. We make this distinctions. So how can there be unity? Unity is possible when there is a fundamental understanding of this reality, that unity is possible only on the spiritual platform, understanding that we are all part and parcel of Krishna. To me, an interesting situation in which he was put. And, as devotees, which will take him further away from God, from Krishna, it'll make him go further away from the spiritual understanding of life. So how is that being somebody's well-wisher? So we can be genuine well-wishers of someone only when we have the complete understanding understanding of the truth. Having good intentions is not enough to be somebody's well-wisher. Truly, many people who want to be well-wishers of others are well-intentioned, but they do not have the right knowledge. Intention must be backed by knowledge. Then one can be genuine well-wisher of somebody, and it must also be backed by the power to do something about it. So intention, knowledge, and capacity. All these three must be present if one wants to be a well-wisher of someone. Let's say you're going on you're traveling by car and on a motorway, and you suddenly find someone who was driving a motorcycle or maybe in a car, they've got in an accident and this person is lying on the street, or maybe in the car injured, probably half unconscious, and you stop your vehicle as a good citizen. You want to help him or her. You come out of your car and you rush to that person to try to help, and you see the person is severely injured, and you try to do something to that person which makes him worse, because you don't know exactly how to do it. You're not medically trained, so you don't know. You end up doing more harm to that person, to the victim of that accident. And also you don't know what else to do. You can't extricate him from that. It needs some specialized help. You don't have the capacity to even carry that person and actually take him somewhere to a hospital or something. So what do? You will try to call for help. There are protocols now, where you call a certain person for emergency help and so on. So they are equipped. They have the capacity, they have the capability, they have the knowledge to help. And they also have the intention to help. When you and I go, we may have the intention, but we may not have the required medical knowledge or other forms of knowledge of how to do things. And we certainly don't have the capacity. So despite us being well-intentioned, we are not actually able to be well-wishers for that person. We may end up actually doing more harm. So similarly, when we try to perform welfare activities for people at large, we may end up doing more harm to them. We may think, oh, poor fellow, he's craving for alcohol. There's an alcoholic who wants to get out of the habit. And he said, please give me some money to buy some alcohol. It's a poor fellow, he needs some money. Let's give him. But he's going to use it for a wrong purpose. So we are actually, with our good intentions, good heart, trying to help him, but we're actually making it worse for him, because his disease, his addiction is going to get worse. So one cannot be sentimental when it comes to these things. One has to act on the platform of knowledge. And knowledge means to understand one's spiritual identity and to do what is necessary for restoring people to their spiritual identity, an understanding of their spiritual identity. And this is what Krishna consciousness is all about. So the best thing we can do for someone is to make that person aware of his or her real identity as spirit souls, as part and parcel of Krishna, the Supreme Soul, and to connect them with Krishna in love, by the process of chanting his holy names and by worshipping him, hearing about him, etc. Then we can act as the real well-wishers. So Krishna is a real well-wisher and one who can act as a messenger of Krishna, truly speaking, not in a concocted way, but in a genuine bona fide way. Such a person is also a well-wisher on behalf of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada used to sign off his letters to his disciples by saying, "Your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhakti Swami." So because a pure devotee of the Lord can be a genuine well-wisher of someone, because he understands what is real welfare. Shanta sadhavah sadhubhushanaha. The Srimad Bhagavatam mentions the qualities of a real sadhu, of a real saint. Titikshivah, he is very tolerant. Karunika is very merciful, very kind, very compassionate to everybody. Suhridha sarvadehinam. Such a saintly person is a well-wisher. Suhrid, the same word that is used here in this verse. Krishna says, Suhridam sarva bhutanam. Bhutanam is of all the living entities. And here in the Bhagavatam, the verse is sarvadehinam, of all those who are in these material bodies. So such a saintly person is also a suhrid, a well-wisher of all living beings, not just of people who belong to his nationality or to his community or to his religious faith or people whom he likes. He is a well-wisher of everyone. Sadhavaha sadhubhushanaha. And such a person is endowed or decorated, so to speak, with all sorts of divine qualities, which is what makes a person a saint. A saint is known not by the kind of clothes that he wears, not merely by erudition and being able to give nice lectures or to write very scholarly books even. But a genuine saintly person is known by the qualities that that person has, he or she has. One understands saintliness in this regard. So a genuine saint is Suhridam Sarvadehinam. The word well-wisher that Krishna uses here and is also used in the Bhagavatam is Suhrid. There are many equivalent terms in Sanskrit for friendship. Prabhupada mentions Mitra. Mitra is also a kind of friendship. Sakha, also an intimate friend. Bandhu, also kind of friend. Brotherly kind of friend. Mitra may be an official kind of friend. But the word Suhrid, Srila Prabhupada said, is the most important type of friendship that you can have. Because Su means good or feeling nice, Hrid means heart. So the word Suhrid means that you're a genuine well-wisher of someone. You have well-wishes for someone. You truly want their welfare and their good, unconditionally. Regardless of how that person deals with you, you still remain the well-wisher of that person. This is a real Suhrid. Krishna is always helping and supporting every single living entity. Even the atheists, those who deny the existence of God, God is always with them, assisting them. He's in the heart of every living entity, fulfilling their desires, facilitating their every act, thought and word. But despite the fact that some people deny his very existence, or they criticize him, they kill wrongly other people in his name, still he remains a Suhrid. He doesn't hate anyone. Samoham sarvabhuteshu namedvesho stinapriyaha. I don't hate anyone. Neither is there someone very dear to me. Everyone is dear to me, Krishna says. I'm equal in vision to everyone. I remain the well-wisher of all. Regardless of whether they believe in me or not, whether they worship me or not, whether they abuse me or not, but I'm still their well-wisher. So this is possible in Krishna. Just as a parent will always love the child, even if the child rebels against the parent, goes away from the house, acts against the parents, but in their heart, the parents still love their children. But still, because we are humans, so sometimes we may succumb to negative emotions also. But Krishna is not a human. Krishna is a Supreme Lord. So he never succumbs to negativities. He is the personification of love, kindness, compassion. So his heart is always overflowing with well wishes and love for the living entities, regardless of their psychological disposition towards him. So similarly, those who become pure devotees of the Lord also become like Krishna in this sense, that they also love all living entities regardless of material distinctions of caste, creed, community, etc. So they also want everyone's welfare. So Suhridam Sarvadehinam, well-wishers, to be genuine well-wishers of everyone. Otherwise we cannot be well-wisher. Therefore Krishna says, Suhridam Sarvabhutanam, you must understand me as the real well-wisher of all. Then one can understand peace. One can be a well-wisher but on behalf of Krishna. One can carry Krishna's potency, Krishna's knowledge, Krishna's devotion. Then one can be actual well-wishers of everyone. So this is the peace formula. So three things Krishna says here. Bhoktaram, yajna tapasam, that he is the beneficiary of everything we do, our austerities, our sacrifices, our activities. He is the beneficiary, which means that he is the enjoyer. He is the real enjoyer. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, which means that he is the real proprietor of everything. Suhridam Sarvabhutanam means that he is the genuine well-wisher of everyone. So one who knows these three things, Jnatva, knowing which, Mam Shantim Richati. When one's Jnatva Mam, that means Krishna says, knowing this about me, Shantim Richati, such a person can obtain peace, real peace. So if you want peace in this world, and who doesn't, then we have to abide by Lord Krishna's instructions here. This is the famous peace formula. Of course, because we are living in a real world where not everybody will take to this philosophy of life. Many people will be very opposed to it, and they will act very much opposed to this idea. So therefore Krishna has to do so many things in this world. He gives us a set of dharmic laws which we are to follow, and how does one deal with those who are adharmic, etc. Even though Krishna spoke like this and on the battlefield, but then soon after he finished the Bhagavad Gita, the battle began. And Krishna was there in the battlefield, riding the chariot of Arjuna, as Arjuna was shooting arrows all over the place and killing, as you say here, big time, killing so many people on the battlefield, thousands and thousands of soldiers. It was happening under Krishna's instructions. So wasn't Krishna the well-wisher of the Kauravas and those fighting on their side? Yes, he was. But Krishna understood that for dharma to prevail, for people to be in a condition to understand this, sometimes it's required to take to violent means. But those violent means cannot be whimsically employed or deployed by anyone. For example, now there is a state, there is a government, and only the government is authorized to resort to violent means to control somebody. If there's a criminal, you and I do not have the right to go and assault somebody. But the state may do it if they see that he is creating havoc in the society. He can go and do that. So similarly, we cannot take the law of dharma in our own hands and do things. But there are authorized ways given in the scripture. The king was supposed to be the Naradeva, the representative of Krishna, who would employ this power given to him by Krishna for the welfare of all citizens, so that everyone would be able to as an avatar. Yes, he comes here, Vinashaya Chadushkritam, he comes here to destroy the miscreants who don't let the devotees live in peace. The devotees want to live in peace with everyone, but there are some people who will not let the devotees live in peace. So they need protection. So Krishna sometimes personally comes down, and sometimes he empowers his his powerful representatives to do it. And all the heads of state, they're also meant to do that. So if the world is run according to the dharmic principles, which are based on these three fundamental principles, then peace can be achieved in the whole world. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any questions? Yes.
Maharaj, thank you for that. It's a great class. Maharaj, you said that about the identification of the body, that we have, we are not the body. However, we have a strong, or I have a strong identification of the body. For example, we cleanse it, we clothe it, we have certain attachments to different colours that we like for our own appearance, etc. So this attachment to the body grows, and it grows and it grows and grows. However, the simple message that we hear all the time is we are not the body, we are the soul. But right from birth, there's this attachment, to do these certain things that we do on a daily basis. So it becomes quite hard to remember we are not the body, because on a daily basis we have to do these certain things in order to live our lives. So how can you advise on some sort of practical method, a practical way that we can actually dissociate ourselves with the body in a very practical sense and remember that we are the soul?
Okay, so the question is that we know that we hear from the Bhagavad Gita that we are not this body, we are the soul. But practically speaking, we do get very attached to the body, and we are conscious of the body all the time. And even as devotees, we do worry about the body. We think about our clothes and what color it should be, etc., etc. So are there any practical tips that we can use for helping us to realize this better? That's the question, correct? Well, first and foremost, before I answer the question about practical tips, it's natural that there will be some attachment to the body, because we are in it. We use it to interact with the world, and we cannot just artificially disconnect ourselves from the body. We neither advocate all day for 7 hours, 8 hours a day, you just trying to decorate the car and trying to see so many things about the car. That's a bit much. You can do it once in a while. So similarly with the body, do what is necessary to keep it in good condition, keep it well serviced with eating on time, sleeping on time, protecting it from the natural elements, etc. Heal it when it is sick. Perfectly legitimate. But it is excessive care of the body, excessive pampering of the needs of the body, trying to fulfill every demand of the body regardless of what the nature of the demand is. That is what will deepen our bodily consciousness. That is what will take us away from spiritual life. So coming to what practical tips we can have to enhance the realization that I am not the body, that I am the soul. First and foremost, everything begins with hearing. So we have to repeatedly hear spiritual discourses. We have to repeatedly read spiritual literature, bona fide spiritual literature. Srila Prabhupada, in practically every single lecture, spoke about this. You are not the body, you are the soul. And sometimes the devotees would think, I've heard that before. Why is Prabhupada saying this again and again and again? Every single lecture practically saying the same thing. We've been hearing it from the first day we came to Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada was saying it because it needs to be said again and again and again. Because it shouldn't go to the back of our mind, it should always remain in the front of our mind. So we should be aware that I am the spirit soul, even if I'm not realizing it. at least the jnana, the knowledge should be there, even if the vigyan, the realization is not there at the moment. To some degree it's there, but maybe not that much. So we have to hear, we have to read these messages, so it always remains in the front of our mind. The awareness is at least there. And when that awareness is there, the knowledge is there, we will act on the spiritual platform. So that's the second practical thing. We have to act on the platform of the soul. Even if we don't have the realization that I am the soul, but by acting on the platform of the soul, that realization will come gradually. Acting on the platform of the soul means to render devotional service to Krishna, to chant his holy names, to worship him, to hear his messages. So there is a whole process of devotional service, the ninefold processes as given by Prahlad Maharaj in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we should try to do that. So by engaging in practical activities of devotional service, which are actually activities on the spiritual platform, we will gradually be lifted from the bodily consciousness to the spiritual consciousness. Gradually, it happens step by step, not overnight. Then we will start experiencing something different, something higher. So we will realize that I'm not the body when we see a sense of detachment coming from the world around us. Then we can understand that that is a practical tip or a practical symptom that I'm moving in the right direction. We also start feeling more and more happiness in devotional activities. That means we are more and more identifying with the soul, even if we don't know it. So by getting more and more absorbed in devotional activities, you're actually acting on the platform of the soul. You're living on the platform of the soul, even without actually realizing that I am the soul, not the body. So these are the two primary ways. We just engage in devotional activities, and that lifts us to the spiritual platform. Then automatically it will come. When the time comes when we have to leave this body forever, then Krishna will take us back to the spiritual world, which is the land of spirit. A world that is completely spiritual, no more material body over there. Yes? Hare Krishna. Any other question? Yes.
You mentioned about the knowledge, intention, and capacity to help others. What is very obvious is that helping others in mode of ignorance is very clear that it's completely wrong, like helping somebody to get alcohol or doing some wrong activities. That's very obvious. But in this world, there's a huge propaganda of philanthropy. And 95% of people who are giving something to others is in charity or trying to help others. It's a big, cool thing. It's very widely accepted. And when we go and try and preach them there, they say, no, we have like the big corporate, we have got our own way of doing philanthropy to institutions or people in need, etc. So despite us having our views about philanthropy and we want to help the soul instead of helping the body, we are up against a very big obstacle in this world trying to reach people consciousness to them. And one of the ways to get to their heart is to first feed them, acceptability to them.
Okay, so your question is that it is a very prevalent idea in the world that doing philanthropy is something good and pious and we should do it. And how does one try to convince those who are doing that they should work towards the ultimate welfare work, which is devotional service to the Lord? This has to be seen on several levels. First, perhaps there are some people whom we would not like to convince because they're so deeply living in that world that to try to disturb them, they would perhaps offend the process of devotional service in God. So we don't want them to be offensive. So we rather try to engage them in some way in devotional charity or in devotional philanthropy. By philanthropy, we mean such welfare work on the platform of the body. So instead of, for some people who are not in a position to listen or to understand or appreciate what you have to say, it is better, rather than trying to argue with them or discuss with them philosophy, it's better to engage them in a way where their philanthropic tendencies can be made to be directed towards devotional, or in the devotional realm somehow. So there is an area of overlap where our devotional activities overlap with philanthropy. So there are those areas that they wouldn't mind doing because it fits in with their idea. And it also is okay with us because we want it also to help people become devotionally conscious. So we somehow try to find that area of overlap and we engage them there. And because they're engaging their philanthropic tendencies somehow in devotional service, knowingly or unknowingly, they benefit. And others also benefit because they are the recipients of that philanthropic work. For those who are willing to understand philosophy and listen and go a little deeper into it and who are open-minded, then yes, there is a scope of speaking the philosophy and explaining how spiritual welfare work is distinct from material welfare work and how spiritual welfare work has an eternal benefit. Material welfare work, noble as it is, has temporary value. Then they slowly begin to understand that. So many people like to do mundane philanthropy. It's important in this world after all. And they will do it because they have this innate sense of goodness in them. They have a good intention to want to help others, and we should respect that. So they try to help others, but they don't have the knowledge. And because they don't have the capacity to help someone, they say, let me facilitate someone who is helping someone. So there's an organization that may be doing some philanthropic work. So they go and give them some donation because you're doing good work and I can't go to such and such country and do this. So you're doing it, I'll help you. I'll give you a little donation and you do that. So that's fine. So they engage their philanthropic tendency, their good intentions of wanting to help others in this way. However, many times, this is also done because of a sense of, I am the well-wisher of others. This is what Krishna is saying here. Jnatva mam shantim richati, that I am the real well-wisher of everyone. So people may feel a sense of pride. I am the one who is helping these poor people. And there are, at least in India, there are many, many rich people who may do this, but for them it's a question of prestige. Just see how charitable I am. Just see how philanthropic I am. Just see how much I'm helping those who are poor and needy. So it's more a question of ego. It's a question of, in other people, if it's not ego, it's some kind of feel-good factor. So there are many psychological things going on behind philanthropic activities. Not that everyone is the same, but in many cases these things are there. So therefore, those who are in knowledge should try to somehow or the other engage everyone in devotional service. And gradually they will be lifted to a higher level of consciousness where they will be able to understand these things. And eventually they will come to the point of realizing that devotional service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is actually the culmination of all welfare work. And then when we spread this everywhere, then everyone will be eternally benefited. Okay? All right, so thank you very much. Piyush and Chandrika, thank you for hosting us today. And Devyani and Shivam, are they here? Okay. So